Access Minnesota, issues that matter to you. Access Minnesota brings you the newsmakers and the stories that shape our everyday lives, with analysis from University of Minnesota faculty experts.
The University of Minnesota serves more than 69,000 students on campuses in the Twin Cities, Crookston, Duluth, Morris, and Rochester. Its economic impact on the state is about $8.6 billion. Well, needless to say, the person in charge of such a large institution has a very demanding responsibility. This month on Access Minnesota, we catch up with U of M President Eric Kaler and hear about his first year on the job. Eric Kaler recently completed his first full academic year as University of Minnesota President. President Kaler, welcome to Access Minnesota.
Thanks for having me, Jim. Glad to be here.
Tell us about your expectations going into the job of University President, and have the realities of the job match those expectations?
That's a great question. You know, when I came in, I expected to encounter a great university. I expected to encounter a lot of complexity. And I didn't expect as much warmth and passion around the U as I felt. People love this university and they want it to do well. When they're mad in the sense that something that they've loved has disappointed them. And that's a good place to be. And so that warmth and acceptance that my wife Karen and I have seen has really been very, very pleasant. In terms of the university, the depth of what we do is spectacular. I expected the breadth, you know, what we do from vet med to public policy and from engineering to medicine, I expected, but the quality with which we do things is really amazing.
For your first year, did you have any major goals that you wanted to accomplish?
My major goal was really to listen and learn, to become acquainted with the university, to understand its people, to understand its culture, to understand its place in the state and in the nation and in the community. And I think I've done that. I've certainly met with tons of people, students, faculty, staff, internal and external, stakeholders. And I think I've gotten my arms around what the university is and where the needs are. In terms of really understanding every technical thing that's done, no, that's still a work in progress.
Former President Brunick set a goal during his tenure to make the University of Minnesota one of the world's top 3 research institutions. Will you continue with that goal, or do you have some goals of your own that will supersede that?
I have, I would say, generalized that goal. I want us to be in the conversation about the best research universities in the country. I want people to think of the University of Minnesota when they think of Berkeley or Michigan or UCLA, North Carolina. I want us to be in that conversation. So that's a broader goal than just being a top 3 research institution. I want us to be at the front of the pack when it comes to our educational products, when it comes to our service on public outreach, when it comes to delivery of our land grant mission, when it comes to commercialization of the inventions we make, as well as being in the front rank in research impact as measured by dollars and cents that we might get from the federal government. I have the great luxury in that sense of being at a university whose reputation is not as good as its achievements. So that we actually do many, many things, and we don't tell many people about it. It's a little bit of a Minnesota trait, I think. And so telling our story more effectively will drive that reputation up in the region and around the nation. So I think that goal of being in that conversation, being viewed by the American public and by the international public as a top research university in the United States is very achievable.
The Board of Regents recently approved your 2013 budget. One notable line item made a return, and that's the Regents Scholarship, which allows University of Minnesota employees to pursue an undergraduate degree tuition-free. What made you reconsider the Regents Scholarship?
My thinking there is the same thinking that led me to give a across-the-board increase, $500 of the current salary increase plan across the board. Our lowest paid employees do an enormous amount for this university, and I want to help them succeed. And if you work in an educational institution, you should be able to use it as a ladder to climb your own educational landscape and move forward. So for our employees who don't have that first bachelor's degree, I want them to be able to take advantage of the university to get that. We did maintain the tuition for subsequent degrees, master's degrees, at 75% of the tuition. And I'm comfortable with that because those master's degrees generally will lead to much enhanced income. And I think partnering with the person to pay for that makes some sense.
Your budget also calls for a 3.5% tuition increase for undergrads, which will be the smallest rise in about a dozen years. What have you heard from the students? Is this welcome news when tuition costs have been rising by double digits for so many years?
Well, you know, it's in between. It's hard to be happy to have any increase at all, but certainly, as I heard from student government and individual conversations with students, there is some appreciation for the fact that we've reduced that rate of increase. I, of course, want to get our partnership with the state of Minnesota to the point where we can limit tuition increases even more dramatically than that. There always is a balance between income from tuition that students and their families pay and the state support that the state's been able to provide. And given the pretty dramatic decline in state support, we've had to ask tuition paying students and families to do more. And I'd like to restore that balance between tuition and state aid.
You've also made some changes to policies on administrative leave packages. Was this in reaction to the controversy with some of the employee packages that your predecessor, Robert Brunix, had approved at the end of his tenure?
You know, those packages were necessary to make some transitions happen, and President Brunix used his discretion to put those forward. I think the perception in the public was that they were generous, maybe too generous. And the board, within its power, looked at our policies and, facilitated by staff work from my office, decided to reformat a little bit of how we do. I'm very comfortable with the new policies. I think it provides a good check and balance and collaboration between the board and the president that's appropriate. So I'm glad to have those in place.
When Access Minnesota returns, University of Minnesota President Eric Kaler discusses the U's state funding and the recent hiring of a new athletic director.
Access Minnesota will return after these messages.